We know Matty Beniers has signed a new contract for the Seattle Kraken, but what does he think about it? Let's talk about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team every single day. My name is Ayala. I'm your host of Locked On Kraken, also right over at CBS Sports, and am the founder of Black Rosie Media, where we empower Black women and melanated creators in sports media. Before we get too far into it, I want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We're going to talk about Matty Beniers today, and not because we haven't talked about his extension. Of course, we talked about his extension in the past, when it happened, before it happened, why isn't it happening? Like, we got into all of that. But we're going to talk about Matty Beniers because going into training camp, I think it's important to really get a handle on what we're expecting and what's realistic, to be honest, for Matty Beniers. So we're going to take a look at, what exactly we need from Matty Beniers. I was listening to a Kraken reaction on Davy Jones' locker room, and we heard John Forslund saying that he was asked if he felt the Matty Beniers contract, or just kind of the contracts that the Seattle Kraken have signed, is it too much? Is it not enough? Is it a good term? Is it good money? Is it what's the deal? And there were some things that John said that, again, I've talked about regarding Matty Beniers throughout the years. But I'm glad that John mentioned, and he's talking with Glenn, mentioned that, listen, Matty Beniers last season was doing things that a lot of people in-house feel are good habits to have as a pro at the NHL level. Now, because the offense was so stagnant throughout the organization, of course, it was noticeable that Matty Beniers had a decline. But I don't think that he was a slouch of a player. He didn't take last season off. And so I really appreciated that conversation and the insight that John Forslund had on the matter, because, again, I think that the way we talk about Matty Beniers and his season last year, I mean, I can't even tell you, everydayers, OGers, maybe you have a tally, but one of the things that really burnt my grits about some of the conversations that people were having about Matty last year is like, oh, well, he's focusing too much on the defensive end, and that's why his offense is flailing, and that's why he's not getting the points. Baby, I've said this time and time again. I'll probably continue to say it. You can't be a top center in the NHL if you don't have a defensive game. You can't be a top center in the NHL if you don't have a defensive game. And so for me, the fact that Matty was working on that, even when other parts of the game weren't, I liked that. Now, I think you can point to maybe how successfully he was able to do that. I mean, that's a conversation we can have. But again, I don't think that Matty or any of our other players who can be and are naturally defensive minded, I don't think that the way that the Kraken played, the way that we were kind of set up, that we really did them any favors. So I appreciated that conversation. And it led me, though, to think about what is the next evolution for Matty Beniers. And he's pointed to it. We earlier in this week talked about what Coach Laxdal is wanting from players like Fergus, from Edward Shala, and I think they're related. So first, let's hear from Matty Beniers, and then coming up in the next segment, let's really break down what we need to see from Matty Beniers and how perhaps the way that rookie camp was set up, and hopefully how training camp was set up, will give us a good barometer early on for a player like Matty Beniers. But first, let's hear from Matty himself. This is the media availability right before rookie camp, and Matty B talking about his brand new contract.
The theme of today's practice was just setting up the kids for
his background, name kind of start
breaking yourself.
Personally, super excited in me. It's exciting. Obviously super grateful for, the contract and, this organization putting a lot of trust in me. Personally super excited, to be here for 7 more years and, just ready to, get the ball rolling and kind of get back to where we were, 2 seasons ago. Yeah, it was good. It was fun. Same kind of routine as, each summer, just getting in there, trying to get, bigger and stronger. Obviously, I'm a leaner guy, so, that's important. Put on some corner weight and, get back feeling really, really good on the ice. Not a firm number, just, feeling bigger, feeling stronger, a little bit more heavy on my feet out there, not getting, not falling down as much. I know I have a tendency to do that, so, but feeling good. Yeah, I mean, that's a, focus I've been trying to get better on over the last few years. So, just making sure I'm eating healthy. I got to eat a lot of calories throughout the day, so it's same with a lot of guys in here that are trying to put on weight as well. But I, worked pretty close with Nate this summer doing that, and we obviously have a new nutritionist, so I'm sure she'll be helping me out a little bit too. Yeah, it's definitely nice to get that done and, have some security, and now you can put the business side behind you and just play hockey, which is the best part of it. I hate the business part of this. So for me, it was like awesome. It's a obviously unbelievable deal. And, now I just get to play hockey. That's, like I said, the best part of it.
So Matty B, like a lot of us, just wanted to get the deal done, says he doesn't like the business aspect of it. But again, listen to that conversation with Glenn and John, where they talk a little bit more about the business of it. And I enjoyed that conversation. I enjoy hearing John Forsland talk about hockey in a more relaxed setting than a live hockey game. But he's always a good time. Can't wait to catch up with all the crew at training camp starting on Thursday, full main training camp, if you will. We've had rookie camp. But so you heard from Matty Beniers, a lot of that was regarding him putting on weight, being able to stay effectively on his skates. And I think that's going to be huge when we look at the ability of the Seattle Kraken to be just a little harder on the puck, harder on the stick, harder on their stick. And basically that's just a hockey way of saying that they got to be a little stronger. And I've alluded to this before. We heard about it from, Derek Laxdal talking about players like Jagger Furcus. And so I think that the way, and I know I spent a lot of time on this earlier in the week, but I really love what I'm hearing so far about how the rookie camp and even the rookie showcase or the rookie face-off, participating in the rookie face-off, have helped set the tone for what training camp is going to be. Because if you remember, everydayers and OGers, I've been saying for the last 2 training camps that the physicality, the endurance level, the effectively just, the physical training and conditioning that happens at training camp, I think needed to be ramped up in the last handful of years, because we'd come out of the gate in the regular season, the Seattle Kraken, and just look like we were gassed. We didn't have enough in the tank. And the way that you build up that stamina is to go all out in training camp, in preseason, and in practice. So we're going to talk about how this relates to Beniers and a few other folks, especially if the Seattle Kraken are going to lean into the youth movement, which we also at Locked On Kraken have been saying is likely going to be the case. Let's talk about that and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at GameTime. Now, we talk about GameTime a lot on Locked On Kraken because I absolutely love Game Time. And I love that I can pick my view, or I can take a look at the views from the seats that I'm thinking of picking. I love the Game Time guarantee. But now there's a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time, searching through thousands of tickets. And so I think this is amazing because, for example, I've been telling you I really want to see the Mariners play. Now, unfortunately, they're playing the Yankees. I'm a Mets fan, not my favorite thing. So I don't really, want to go scouring and looking. I'm just like, hey, Game Time, I trust you. I believe you know what I want. You know what I like. And let's just go for it. I just want to watch baseball, right? I don't like the business part of it, to use a term from Matty B. And that's why I love it. There's also all kinds of other things on Game Time Picks, or there's all kinds of other things about Game Time Picks that I think is just great. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. You get super deals. Seats, the view of the seat before you buy, which I love. And I love that the Game Time Picks still gives that to you. And then, of course, you have the lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. So now is the time for you to go download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Oh, it's game time. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here, coming to you once again at Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team every single day. If you haven't already, make sure you listen to Locked On NHL. You've got Tuesdays is when they do the Pacific Division Roundup with JD Young over at Locked On Sharks. And of course, every other Friday, we do the Women's Hockey Spotlight, featuring me alongside Rachel and Gil on the regular Friday show. So we're going to talk about names and logos for Friday. But let's get back to Matty Beniers, some of the other young prospects, and size. It's time to beef up. I've talked about this, on yesterday's episode, a few days ago before that, and probably endless times before that. The Seattle Kraken, we're not a strong team on the puck. We don't have a team with size. I mentioned even at the rookie showcase, we were young. That's one of the things that Derek Laxdal said, that he kind of liked, that some of, especially the true rookies or the guys coming to rookie camp for the first time, they were able to play against older, larger prospects. And right now in our pipeline, we are very nimble, very quick, but we're not very big. And that's okay. These young men are expected to grow. And like we heard from Matty Beniers, working with a nutritionist, working in the off season to beef up. And that is all good and well. But particularly, I'm curious to see how we refine size, or if we do refine size at all, when it comes to the blue line. But I've talked about that a bunch before. It's not really in the cards, at least I should say more specifically, it's not in our pipeline. But you do have players like Riker Evans that can play a pretty good, strong game. I think that what we've seen with Coachella Valley at times, and again, we're expecting some of those guys to come up and really make a case to make the NHL squad this year. But I've talked to Jessica Campbell about this, everydayers, and especially our insiders. You know that I've asked about that balance between playing physical, playing aggressive, but not getting penalized for it, so that you're playing basically through special teams all night. I've talked to Dan about it. I've talked to Tato Hat about it. And so I think that we need that balance of good leadership and maturity while also having players that can play tough. They play hard on the puck, not just so that they're not getting knocked off the puck, which is what we heard Matty Beniers reference specifically, but also so that we are imposing our will defensively. And that's not just talking about blue liners. I think about defense for the Seattle Kraken or just in general for hockey in all three zones. And the Seattle Kraken, when it comes to 50-50 puck battles, we can maybe win a foot race, but there's not as many players as I would like to see that can win that battle if they're going, shoulder to shoulder. Oliver Bjorkstrand, his size is very unassuming, but his strength is magnificent. And I think if Matty Beniers finds a way to play strong on the puck like an Oliver Bjorkstrand, I would absolutely love that. Oliver Bjorkstrand can skate. Oliver Bjorkstrand has a knack for the front of the net. And he also is a great playmaker. I want to see more of that. I think Eli Tolvanen is another player who doesn't get enough credit for how strong and how physical a game he plays. I think a lot of people think of Yanni Gord or even a Will Borgen, and neither guy particularly big, but they play a big game. And their game sometimes does lead to, throwing a few punches. If you listen to the show, I think fights are stupid in hockey. I really, really do. I understand that it's a part of the culture. And I even, if we kick it up to, 1,000 feet level, I understand that sometimes you cannot get mushed, is how sometimes we say it in New York. You can't get mushed around. You can't get punked. You have to show that you got a little fight in you. And I'm definitely that kind of player. I didn't always have all of the skill, but I wasn't going to be outworked. I didn't care how big, how small, how quick, how many points. There's a saying in sports that when people play me, play against me, or when people play against my team, we want them to feel it. We want them to know, oh, wow, we just took on the Seattle Kraken. And I want a little more of that. I want that sandpaper. I want that moxie. And yes, I do think having that mentality and that mindset helps play better defense, but it also helps be better offensively because you're playing an aggressive game. You feel confident that you can win the puck from anyone and that you can stop anyone from trying to win the puck from you. That I want to see more of. And I think there are drills, and we heard Derek talk about it earlier in the week, right before the media day for Wednesday. But I think there's a way that the Seattle Kraken and that the organization as a whole can start to, you either, honestly, when it comes to that moxie, that sandpaper, you either have it or you don't. That being said, there's a way to, if maybe that's lying dormant, to ramp that up, right? To bring up the volume on that a little bit. And I do think there are some guys that they can play that game a little bit better. I want to take a closer look at Jared McCann. When it comes to this, my gut is telling me that he probably is one of those players where we can pump up the volume. You can't be a prolific scorer, in my opinion, in the NHL if you don't have some strength and some courage, that you're willing to go out there and get after it. And there can be a tendency in any sport for someone who is so known for their offense to be maybe more of a finesse player than a gritty player. We, as the Seattle Kraken, have not earned the right to be finesse scorers. We have to be gritty scorers, especially coming off of last season. Am I right? Come on. So I want to see the guys get after it. And I really think there's a chance if what we saw from Derek Laxdal is going to also translate to what Dan Bylsma is going to do in training camp. I'm freaking excited. I'm freaking excited. You used to see these videos. I personally haven't seen one in like a year a few years maybe, but where there be guys at training camp in the NHL, other leagues too, but I'm thinking specifically about the NHL, and you'd see they're kind of throwing the gloves down in training camp. On the one hand, you're probably thinking, "What the crap?" I mean, again, I think fighting is stupid. I think you're going to drop your gloves and then just you're going to mess up your hands. So I think there's a silliness to that, and I think if you can operate under a code where you truly do everything and anything to make the team better, and you can either no hard feelings, what happens on the ice stays on the ice, or you have the maturity, and I didn't always have this as an athlete, I'll just be honest. You have the maturity to when something happens and you feel some kind of way about it, then you talk it out. I'm not saying I want the Kraken guys to fight, but I do want them to be aggressive because if you can't be aggressive in practice, some of the best teams in sport, they say their practices are harder than games. Their practices are harder than games. Oh, we talking about practice? Yes, I freaking love practice. I think there's no better training ground. And so I want to see the Seattle Kraken through training camp, through preseason, and through practices this year really get after it to develop and refine and empower players to have some of that sandpaper. So, coming up on today's episode, let's go over the schedule. What's it looking like? And where can you find me? As well as, again, something special coming up. Probably going to have that announcement definitely for insiders on Thursday. And then, but before the end of the week, we have an announcement. We're changing up a few things, making an addition, if you will, to Locked On Kraken. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But let's talk about the on ice schedule for the Seattle Kraken. So you can come say hi because I will be at Kraken Community Iceplex. Today's episode, once again, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel because they are America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV based plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. And then when you have the FanDuel app or you're online, you have an account, you can also check out the futures bets. We've been talking a lot about the standings in the Pacific Division. We actually have a Pacific Division squadcast that we're going to be recording coming up with all the hosts of the Pacific Division teams. So you're not going to want to miss that. Remember, visit FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sports book. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken. We're back to 5 days a week. And again, have a cool announcement. I'm super excited. We're going to really try to level up our content. So this is one of what I hope is a few different announcements on how we're really going to level up the content. But that's coming soon. Locked On Insiders. Make sure you are locked in for tomorrow. We'll have something fun for you. But a reminder that I will be on Locked On NHL tomorrow to talk about the women's hockey spotlight with Rachel and Gil. So make sure you check that out. And you can always go make Locked On NHL your second listen of the day. Upcoming schedule for the Seattle Kraken. Well, we are we're up on it now. The Seattle Kraken are done with rookie camp. We are getting ready for main camp. It's internal media day today, Wednesday. And then after that, we hit the ground running. So things are going to start tomorrow, Thursday, September 19th, 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. Pacific Pacific time. We don't, as of the time I'm recording, have the list of when players are going on the ice. We should have that. So for my insiders, I will make sure to keep you updated once we know a little bit better. But the sessions are for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. For Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, yes, are going to be 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. Group 1 will hit the ice. 10:30 to 11:45 a.m. The second group will hit the ice, and 12 to 1:15 the third group will hit the ice. Now, they're actually rotating internally. So for example, on Thursday, you have groups 1, 2, and 3 in chronological order of the time. So 9 to 10:15 is group 1, 10:30 is group 2, etc. But on Friday, for example, at the 9 a.m. slot, group 2 is actually skating first, followed by group 3, followed by group 1, and then on Saturday, group 3, followed by group 2, followed by group 1. So we'll go over all of this. If you want a daily reminder, Locked On Insiders, Locked On Kraken Insiders is the way to go. And if you want to become an insider, all you have to do is text 918-731-3154. You get a 14-day free trial. Remember, that's 918-731-3154 to become a Locked On Kraken insider. So what we can expect from camp is hopefully we're seeing the drills, the kind of establishing the systems. We'll see how guys like Vince Dunn and Oliver Bjorkstrand, who's coming off of an injury, how he's feeling. We'll see how some of the rookies and prospects are doing coming off of the rookie face-off in particular. We'll get to hear from Dan Bilesma. Now, Coach will talk after all of the sessions. And then on Sunday is the first preseason game. It's going to be at Climate Pledge Arena. And this is going to be big. 7 p.m. Pacific time, the Calgary Flames at Seattle Kraken at CPA. So on Sunday, the morning skate will be from 10 to 11 for players we're expecting to suit up. For those who are not participating in that particular preseason game, they will hit the ice at 11:15. That's what we can expect from the Seattle Kraken, and I'll have more details once training camp gets started. That's what you can expect from the Seattle Kraken. What you can expect from Locked On Kraken is, and I've started to do this a little bit, but the shows will come out a little bit later. I always want to try to catch the most recent news of the day, so I'll record around afternoon time Pacific, local time here. And for the insiders, I do this every time I'm at training camp, but you can expect one-on-one interviews that you will get unedited to you first in a special playlist that we have on YouTube. That's just for insiders. I will also give any roster updates, any injury updates, anything like that directly to you via text message through the Locked On Kraken Insiders program. So again, if you want to sign up for that, you can use the link in the bio. You can text the number and that will get you started. And, I think this is going to be a really good training camp. I really hope it's super aggressive and competitive, because if we want to play a fast game, it started well before training camp, but it definitely, you have to really make sure the foundation is level and that it's what you want. So I'm excited for what we have going on here. It's a really exciting time. I hope you're excited. There's usually some giveaways or things that you can grab there. For anyone who won't be coming to training camp, I'll try to grab a few for you and find ways to give those away. But it's going to be a good time. And of course, you can come say hi to me. I joked around with the insiders, but I'm walking with a boot at least for a few more days. It's feeling kind of good right now. But so you won't miss me. Well, there's a lot of reasons why, but anyway, we don't have to get into all those, but it'll be hard to miss me, but please do come say hi. I appreciate it. Tell me your name. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you want to hear or see on the podcast. And we'll make it happen. But you know how we end the show. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. And remember to hold fast. Stay true and loud and proud. Say, especially at KCI and again on Sunday, let's go Kraken. I will catch you on the next episode. Until then, peace out, everybody.